Hey everyone, this is Oracle of the West. Welcome back to Chapter 5 of Ceremony, Intimacy, and Ancient Sacred Sites. This chapter title is The Local Teotihuacanos. And it starts out with a quote from Jenkins. Teotihuacan was oriented to the sunset on the zenith passage date May 17th, and the Pleiades rose just before the sun in the pre-dawn skies. This keying of the Pleiades to the zenith passage date of May 17th defines a very specific and datable era in the precession cycle, such that by AD 1800, the Pleiades were rising helictically in June. The hidden effect of this shifting was that around 1800, the Pleiades were in conjunction with the Sun on the zenith passage date, which meant that the Sun and the Pleiades rose together and passed through the zenith together. A well-known tradition to calibrate this Sun-Pleiades zenith conjunction was the New Fire ceremony. Teotihuacan occupies a huge space, and some research has said that the structures align with the solar system. Like Jenkins, Corliss agrees that orientation is not to the cardinal points, but the Avenue of the Dead, the city's prime access to Pleiades, a star grouping important to ancient cultures. In 1999, treasure hunters made an interesting find in Germany that dates back to about 1600 BC. Near Nebra, they discovered an artifact that depicted constellations, so they called it the Nebra sky disk. Meller said that the disk shows 32 stars, a crescent moon, and a full moon or the sun. The group of 7 stars is probably the Pleiades. No other constellations can be identified. This disk shows that ancient peoples revered the Pleiades star system from times long ago in very different locations on Earth, so much so that they carried the Pleiades symbol as they journeyed to landscapes like Teo. The great city of Teotihuacan probably flourished from AD 150 or earlier to AD 750. Western research chronicles the origins of the megalithic site, but this research is different from the local Teotihuacanos stories. The locals speak of the Toltec as the originators of Teotihuacan, and they were known throughout southern Mexico as men and women of knowledge. Basur traced the myth of Quetzalcoatl back to Plato's Atlantis and concluded that the Toltecs could have been descendants of survivors of that catastrophe, and Tompkins said that. What else do we know about these early people? From Nelson, we know that thousands of years ago, the Toltecs were artists and scientists who formed a society to explore spiritual wisdom and practices in everyday life. From Tonkin's writings, we learn that, just like Brasseur, Siguenza also felt these early people came from the east, maybe from Atlantis, and that a group of people known as the Olmecs had lived on the land even before the Toltecs. Siguenza determined that the nearby city of Teotihuacan was founded in 1325, not sure I pronounced that right, and this marked the beginning of the Aztec Empire. Through his research, he discovered that Aztec priests kept a calendar where they tracked the solstices and the equinoxes over many years. They watched how the planets had transited their skies. And now Nelson is going to say this. According to their calendar, there have been 5 suns prior to the one that exists now. Their prophecies said that there would be a huge earthquake in Mexico's biggest city of Tenochtitlan. In 1986, this earthquake struck Mexico City, which is the modern Tenochtitlan. The ancients predicted that after the earthquake there would be a 5-year period of rest until the new sun was born. On January 11, 1992, the new sun came, and it has sparked a great change in all humans. But beyond their amazing calendar, the Aztecs introduced some dark elements into the Teotihuacan ecofield. Dark practices like human sacrifice, including children. We'll talk about these shadows soon. There are several megaliths at Teo, the Pyramid of the Sun, the Pyramid of the Moon, and the Temple of Quetzalcoatl, with many other temples and architectural spaces across the grounds. Most are adorned on the outside with decorative stones and carvings of wildlife symbols. Frescoes and statues have been found over the years of exploration, and you can see some of these on display at an on-site museum. All this we heard while digging deep into the history of this sacred space. But back to that morning on the top of the Pyramid of the Sun, when we saw the butterflies in flight, this wasn't something that we'd imagined. And like emerging from a cocoon, we transformed during this journey, just like the butterflies that had appeared that morning.